for your values and fight for your friends. Fight through this blight, find the light at the end. Through the age of the dragon, the people will talk of the day they were saved by a hero named Hawk.
You're listening to Reignite, a podcast about the hubris of man. I'm Frankie.
And I am at AK Stormageddon.
Hubris? More like, let's do this!
Also, I was going to say, a podcast about the hubris of man with no men on it.
It's true. I mean, it's more like man generalized.
Right.
Man non-gendered.
Right, exactly.
Mankind. But it's usually men who are being hubristic.
I mean, that's also true.
Just not in this case.
No.
Anyway, we find Sebastian. Well, we'll get into whose hubris we're talking about. We find Sebastian in the Chantry talking to the Grand Cleric Althena. Despite having killed the Flint Company mercenaries, there is more to be done for the Prince of Starkhaven. He has discovered that his family's allies, the Harrimans, are responsible for the murder of his family. He doesn't want to provoke a war, but it isn't the best idea for the sole heir to walk into enemy territory alone. Thankfully, Hawk is the kind of person who gets voluntold into things and will help Sebastian whether they like it or not. Upon entering the estate, Sebastian comments that something isn't right, which is proven as we encounter each member of the household drunk, mad, and sex-crazed. No one of the house even registers our presence until we attempt to press further into the expansion underground. After some demon confrontations, we continue into the underground ruins where shades, rage demons, skeletons, and revenants all try to slow us down. At the end, we find Lady Harriman kneeling before a desire demon, demanding more power. Can the desire demon persuade us to her side? Is Sebastian truly as altruistic as he believes?
Yeah, I must have wiped this entire mission from my memory because I do not
Of course you
remember
did, because Sebastian.
Well, yes. It's funny. Sebastian is, if I were someone who had memory issues, I could fall for, because every I'd say 8 or 10 sentences, he brings up his faith. And in between those moments, I'm like, oh, you're kind of charming. And then he gets uber religious. And I go, oh, yeah, that's why I don't like you.
There are nice things about him, which we will get into.
Yeah.
But he is very devout.
Yes.
As we learn, he was given to the Chantry. He was promised to the Chantry with the intent that he would become a priest, or whatever the Chantry equivalent of a priest is, because usually their higher ranking religious people are women.
Right.
So I don't know how many men we ever encounter in the Chantry, honestly.
Not a ton, actually.
We do know there's Brother Genitivi, so there must be some men somewhere.
Well, and I feel like in Inquisition, we get missions, like near the mission boards and stuff, from male Chantry workers as well. It's just, I think the All-Mother and, like, the higher ranking folks are all, like, ladies.
Calling them Chantry workers makes them sound equivalent to sex workers.
A little
I'm like,
bit.
that's not fair to sex workers. Sex workers work harder.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
But yeah, we do know that he is very devout, because that is the life that he has been living for the last 10 years at least. He's a young guy who, when he was 13, his parents were like, okay, you're gonna go be a priest because we don't really need you for anything else right now. Bye. Which, you know, I sympathize with him over, because that sucks, man.
Yeah.
Can you imagine being shipped off to a highly religious school, like, without any say in the matter?
I mean, I imagine that's how it often happens, but it thankfully has not happened to me.
I wasn't allowed to go to a religious school.
I know.
Legally.
Yeah.
My dad tried to kill a priest.
Unsurprising.
Yeah. So we start off in the Chantry and find Sebastian standing across from Grand Cleric Althena, talking about the current state of things. The Flint Company wasn't the end of everything. He now knows who sent them, and it's really hard for him to see their death as a form of justice, which Althena says that death isn't justice, which I don't know if I agree all the time.
I don't either, but I think the sentiment here is justice, or like death in the pursuit of revenge is never justice, which
I think that's valid.
I can agree with on a broad level, but also I don't know that I'd be able to agree with if I had lost my family in the way Sebastian had.
Unless we are sharing this experience, it's hard for us to say. But I think, and I may get some flack for this, but I think there's such a thing as justifiable murder. I think sometimes someone just needs to not be alive anymore.
Yeah, it's
and
a
that's
challenge.
usually in very extreme cases. Like,
Right.
It's very clear this person is never going to rehabilitate. They have no interest in rehabilitating. They just want to keep hurting people. I think that there are situations. That's what I'm gonna say. Could I be talked around? Probably. I have never had to decide whether someone should live or die. I could probably be talked into letting someone live.
Right. I mean, I guess also this comes in, at least for the U.S., a lot of conversations around our favorite Mario brother Luigi over the last few months.
Yes.
Like, this kind of conversation has come up a lot as well.
Yes. So, like, allegedly, Luigi performed a violent act and someone died as a result. It is still not confirmed whether he is the one who perpetuated that act, but he is the one currently paying for it.
Correct.
Let's say that. And honestly, that delivered a fucking message.
Yes. And I mean, again, the person that was killed is someone who runs a company that kills thousands and thousands of more than that of Americans every year. So
Exactly. Like, eat the rich isn't just a fun saying. It's no, in order to eat them, we must kill them.
yeah.
So it's complicated. If you have feelings about if there is such a thing as justifiable murder, we invite you to share them with us. Please don't attack us for
Yes.
any feelings that we have shared, because these are difficult feelings to share, and they are not hard and fast feelings, I would say. I think everyone can change.
Well, sure.
given
And also
an adequate argument.
everything that we share here is in the spirit of conversation.
Yeah.
Verbal attacks won't be shared on the show. Not that I think anyone in our audience would do that, but if this breaks the bubble for some reason, just laying that out there.
Yeah. Okay. So he is in the party now.
Yeah, so basically he says that he doesn't feel comfortable going in and talking to the Harrimans alone, and basically you can make Hawk go, well, I'll go with you. And he's like, well, that's helpful.
Did you have Varric with you?
No, so my party when I met with him was still Anders, Meryl, and Fenris, and then I swapped Meryl for Sebastian when I had to update the party.
So I had my boy squad, which is Anders, Varric, and Fenris.
Uh-huh.
Approaching them, Sebastian says, oh, I was just talking about you to Grand Cleric Althena, and I chose to say, like, oh, do continue, I'd love to eavesdrop. To which Varric responds, Hawk said sarcastically, and Hawk goes, I hate it when you do that. Hawk muttered as an angry aside to the dwarf.
Amazing.
I love their friendship so much. And I'm going to start doing this to my friends because it amuses me. But we are asked to go with Sebastian. I took the tack of, why is everybody looking at me?
Yeah, I said I did the more protective type of like, yes, I'd be happy to go with you. When I approached,
you'll do anything for a pretty face and a Scottish accent.
Probably yes, although you can't flirt with him as a male Hawk, and it's a crime.
Because he's straight!
I know, I don't get it. Add this to the Tali Cassandra list. Like, I don't buy it.
It doesn't make sense!
He's too pretty.
Like, Like,
What
the
was it?
Chantry doesn't give a shit about same-sex relations. Why does he?
Yeah. But when I rolled up to the conversation, and he mentions that he was just talking about us, my hawk said, I hope it was all nice things.
It's just
Or
about
all
the
good
crime
things, I
that you
hope.
do.
Yeah, exactly.
It's about all the crime that you do.
Yeah.
I love Varric's nickname for him, which is Choir Boy.
That's good, yeah.
I hate Althena because when I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Just help everyone? Althena's like, you've taken on lesser causes. I'm like, well, first of all, how dare you?
That was rude.
My causes are all about liberating mages, so eat shit.
It's true.
And also solving murder.
Yes, that too.
How dare
Sometimes
you.
both.
Yes. So, I don't like Althena. I find it very funny that when he is recruited to the party, it feels like he's so distanced from everyone. He's like all the way on the edge.
Yeah. I mean,
Like
that's
as
also
far as he can possibly get.
right, but on a meta level, that's also because he's a DLC character, so they could have only
Yes.
stuck him on the ends anyway.
I know, but it amuses me.
Yeah.
Okay, so we head over to the Harriman estate. I have
Not to be confused with the Harrimont estate.
yeah, the Harriman. My squad for this, I went Oops All Rogues because it amused me.
Okay.
So Isabella, Varric, and Sebastian. And myself, Obvi.
Avi. Yeah, I went, like I said, I just subbed Meryl for Sebastian, so it was Anders, Sebastian, and Fenris.
So the first part of this quest, we are moving through this massive house that is empty. There are no guards. The door is wide open. There's no servants. We just have to like move through this house to be like, is there anyone home? What's even happening here? And as we move through the house, we start to encounter the different members of the household. First, we encounter Flora, who is standing in the wine cellar, seemingly drunk, yelling at a person that isn't there, maybe just yelling at the wine cask in front of her. She does not register us trying to get her attention, trying to talk to her.
Yeah, and Sebastian comments on the stink of the wine. It doesn't smell like any normal wine. He's experienced, and that something is definitely wrong, as she is.
I don't think... Okay, there was nothing about smell when he was talking. He just said this is not normal wine.
Oh, right, you're right. Right, that's the comment I'm remembering.
And I think that he was saying that more because like normal wine wouldn't make someone behave this way.
Right,
So whatever is happening is beyond simply being drunk.
right, yeah.
As we continue to move through the house, we meet the brother, who I think is named Brett. I couldn't get everybody's names.
Yeah,
The brother who is commanding his servants to bring more gold and to build up the fire because he wants to melt the gold and cover another elf servant, a woman who is being held at knife point by another elf. He wants to cover her in gold and turn her into a statue. And Sebastian is just like, no!
yeah.
You will kill her! Please don't do that!
And in a moment of break, like we when we react, one of the elves like turns their knife away, and it gives the one held at knife point the opportunity to run away.
Yeah.
And then the other elf leaves as well, and then the brother decides, the youngest of this family decides, well, maybe it should be me. Maybe I'll just cover myself in gold.
Right? So it has nothing to do with like this woman necessarily. It's just this concept of a person being covered in gold.
This calling.
like,
yeah.
Yeah, so whatever is going on with him, he can't hear us, he can't see us. Sebastian delivers an excellent punch to the elf who turns a knife on us.
It's very action hero like whack.
Yeah. I appreciated it. I was just like, all right. Also, like, his concern was for the people who were being harmed and not, like, for the nobility in the room,
Right.
if that makes sense. Like, he was more concerned about the people who were in harm's way, which I'm like, okay. I see what kind of person you are. This is okay. As we progress, there are also, like, letters and journal entries from Flora telling us that things are getting weird in the house. First it started with the father, then it was the brother, and then eventually it became Flora. Flora was the last one. As we progress, I could not see what was happening to the father of the house, because every time I went into the room after the cutscene, the game crashed.
Oh my god.
So I could see the cutscene, so I do know about the sex shenanigans.
Yeah.
So when you do walk into that bedroom, you see the father engaged in some kinky shit with an elf woman who's like not questioning it. She's just like, yeah, buddy.
I mean, we also don't know.
She could be a sex worker, it's true.
She could be, and I mean, she's dressed like some of the other sex workers are in the game, but also the servants could be affected by whatever spell is being cast
or
here,
it
too.
could be demons who are posing as the servants.
That's also true, yeah.
That could also be it. Because that would explain some things. So, one thing that we find is a journal entry from Flora talking about how her father has gotten weird and he pinched her ass.
Yeah.
And I was just like, ah!
Yuck. Yeah.
It's so gross!
Yeah.
Like, what? Flora, the second that happened, I would have been like, no!
Yeah, I would have been out the door.
I've been like, I need to leave this house. It is not safe for me here.
I mean, clearly there's something, like, she wasn't able to leave, but, like...
Right. But that would have been, like, my first sign to get help, you know?
Yeah.
So I feel sad for Flora because I'm going to assume she was not in a position where she could get help safely.
Yeah.
I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt. Because she is a victim, so let's give her the benefit of the doubt. I did eventually get into that room to get that chest, though.
Okay.
I did do it. But every time I tried before
The
going
cutscene.
into the ruins, after the cutscene, it would just go loading and just sit there.
Interesting.
So it's fun for me. Can't wait for that to happen again. When we finally get to the basement, we are confronted by all three family members telling us to go back. And then they all pass out and we're attacked by demons.
Yep. And I was like,
So-
of course, demons. What else would
So-
it be?
They have all been possessed by demons. They are all being manipulated by demons. And now they are basically free for the time being.
Because we killed the demons that are possessing them? Yeah.
Yes, until they get repossessed, I guess. But now we go underground to see what's going on.
Yeah, and we find a pretty expansive ruin that, for once, looks like none of the other dungeons we've experienced, which is kind of exciting. It's
Like,
a
there are
different...
similarities.
There are, but like the layout and color scheme is a little different. Like the
Yes, it's tinged green, so you
and-
know it's evil.
Right. And the construction is a little different, but look, I'll take what I can get at this point since there's so little variable in the dungeons. We fight our
There
way
was
through.
a pocket, and I was so angry because this pocket exists in other dungeons. And
Yeah.
it's just like a pocket room with nothing in it. And I was like, how dare you?
I'm going to talk about this when I get to our fandom corner, but like games that have exploration should reward you in every room you explore. Is that if there's an offshoot room, something is required to be in it. That is basic game design. It's like if there is a waterfall that you can walk behind, there better be a chest because otherwise you have failed at your job of making a video game.
Anyway,
Anyway,
after we fight our way through some skeletons, some revenants, there's even an undead mage that I can never remember the
Arcane
name of.
Horror.
Arcane Horror, yes, that guy. We do eventually see the lady of the house, Lady Johanne Harriman, kneeling before a desire demon, talking about how she needs more power, she needs to marry Flora to the current ruler of Starkhaven. And the desire demon is telling her, like, I've already given you a lot, and you want more?
Yeah. You know, if a desire demon is questioning your thirst for power, that you've gone too far.
Yeah, right. And the desire demon also makes clear that she traded her family for all of this power.
Yeah.
Which, dang, dude.
Yeah.
That's fucked up.
when you encounter them, you can talk with them. Did you have a conversation, or did you just kill them?
I had a little conversation, not a huge one. Sebastian confronts her and says, like,
Yeah.
you did this. And she says that she removed the only obstacle between her and her dreams. I was just like, I mean, technically,
Yes.
if that obstacle is common sense.
Yeah.
So you technically did that, I guess. um So she does talk to Sebastian a little bit about how he is a pious soul masking his ambition. And I think that Sebastian's feelings are extremely valid. He is the spare kid in a family that doesn't need him. His oldest brother was set to be the next ruler of Starkhaven. The middle brother was the spare in case anything happened to the oldest brother, and he's just extra, and nobody needs him. And feeling jealous or envious of his brothers and their status and the freedom of what they have to achieve, I think that's extremely valid. Like, he was given a shit lot in his family, even if they are wealthy, but he was basically shuttled off to the Chantry to make his vows whether he wanted to or not. It wasn't his choice. It was something that he was forced into. So I think it's extremely valid for him to see this as an opportunity to live a life that he could never even imagine.
Yeah, I mean, intrusive thoughts or even evil thoughts don't make someone evil. It's acting on them that does, right? We all have thoughts that are uncouth or unkind or whatever, but it's what we do with those feelings. It's whether we act on them that defines the kind of person you are. Everyone has these kinds of thoughts.
And I don't think that Sebastian even went so far as if my brothers were dead. I think it was more of a like, I wish I could have had that opportunity.
Right.
You know? Like, I don't think he ever went so far as to wishing for his family's, like, for anything bad to happen to his family, for him to get this chance.
Right.
But the Desire Demon really pokes at this feeling of jealousy, of envy. And while this feeling can definitely get morphed into something evil, into something hurtful, I think that Sebastian is stronger than the influence that the Desire Demon can enforce. Because he talks about how much he loved his family and how, like, he would do anything to bring them back.
Yeah.
So I think his love for his family is greater than the desire that he had for, like, a bigger role in Starkhaven.
For sure, yeah.
And, like, this is one of the likable things about him, I think.
Yeah.
Is that he is very loyal to the
Yes.
people that he loves. And also, this is what makes him a very devout man as well.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with being religious and devout. We just don't like it when other people kind of, like, force it on you.
Right. This character's issues are not the fact that he's devout. We'll get into it more, but there
Yeah.
are other reasons we take issue with this character.
Yeah. You probably have more issues with him because you're a mage.
I mean, I guess we'll see. So far, not yet, but we'll see.
So, I kind of let it play out between Sebastian and this Desire Demon until Sebastian was like, that's enough. Like, end, over, we're done.
Yeah.
And, you know, we fight. There's no way to save Lady Harriman in this
No.
scenario. She attacks you, she dies, it's over.
Yeah, basically for my Hawk, when the conversation turned to Hawk from Sebastian and you have an option to respond, I chose you die now.
Which is fair.
Yeah.
Which is
because
fair.
I have no interest in, as a mage, in having a conversation with a Desire Demon. I entertained Sebastian's navigation of it, and then when it came to me making a choice, I went, you're going to die now. And then we fought.
I didn't have any mages, so I wasn't particularly worried about what was going to happen to me.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is probably fine.
Yeah. Nothing. What could possibly go wrong?
This is probably fine. Once we complete this fight and we collect our loot, we return to the Harriman estate to find Flora finally clear-headed, and she pledges to Sebastian that she is going to make reparations. She will support him no matter what in his pursuit of Starkhaven and the protection of Starkhaven, which I really appreciate. And Sebastian's response is like, that doesn't fix things. And I'm like, I know, buddy, but she also didn't do it.
Well, right, but the way he frames it is like, this doesn't fix things, but I thank you for your
right,
support.
he appreciates it.
Basically,
but
yeah.
I think that his impulse of, like, anger, it's misdirected, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, we can't really blame Flora. She didn't consent to any of the things that she did.
Right. But I think also I can't, in this moment at least, can't blame Sebastian for being too angry to forgive her because this just happened.
Yeah. He needs time. He needs space.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But then once that's done, we're back to the Chantry.
Yep.
To talk to our little choir boy.
Yeah. Oh, did you give him the bow?
I did by mistake. I was intending to wait to give all of my gifts until, like, before the end game of Act 2, but I did give him the bow. We can talk about it if you want to.
I mean, it's just, it turns out to be his uncle's bow,
Grandfather's bow. And he talks about this really nice bond that they had where the youngest son was supposed to lead the militia, but Sebastian was not comfortable in close quarters combat. He didn't like being hit. And who among us, except for you kinky fuckers? Sebastian, apparently, not that kinky, and that's okay.
No. Yes.
In addition to not kink shaming, we also don't shame people for a lack of kink.
Yes, that's true.
Anti-kink shaming? I don't know what we would call that. Vanilla shaming? We don't vanilla shame.
Exactly. Vanilla people have feelings too.
Yes. They're allowed to be plain. There's nothing wrong with vanilla. I just like it better when it's mixed with a little chocolate. Anyway. And he talks about this bond between him and someone who loved him so deeply. Like, his grandfather, I think, never saw him as, like, the unnecessary extra.
Right. He was just another one of his grandchildren, someone he loved.
Yeah, and, like, his grandfather pushed him to succeed, and because of that, Sebastian worked really hard, and he became, like, an excellent archer, but his family sent him away before he could, like, show his progress and his success to his grandfather.
Yeah.
So it was a nice touching moment, and I was like, "Aw, Sebastian." And I did say, like, I wish I could have, like, been around to help because, you know, grief is not fun for anyone.
Correct.
It is very difficult, and as a person who has experienced grief, and I'm sure you must relate to this, if you could spare someone who you are friends with the pain of the grief that you experienced, you would.
Yes.
Like, if I had the power to step in and prevent someone that I love from grieving, I would do it.
Yes, but also I do believe that grief is important to the process of it's related to. So removing that, I think, emotionally could have ill effects too. This is a whole other conversation.
I think you're misunderstanding me. Like, if I could prevent someone from dying.
Oh, yes, of course.
So that a person I love does not have to grieve for them. Then that is what I would do. I would not just, like, take away their feelings because I think you need to process grief. Like, that. If I could soothe it, then I would do that. Right. But if I could have stepped in to save Sebastian's family, I would have. Is what I'm saying.
Got it.
That's more what that was about. Not taking away feelings. Because I agree with you. I think grief is really important. It's something that you have to process. And I think it is always going to be difficult no matter how much time has passed. But I think the more time passes and the more you think about it, the more you learn about yourself and your relationship with that person. Yep. You know, since my dad has passed, I have learned so much more about him. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I just didn't hate him enough while he was alive. I could have hated him more.
You could have.
It's a missed opportunity, honestly. If I could resurrect him, I would, just to punch him in the face.
Noted.
And then my brother would have to punch him in the face. And then I might give my mom a chance to punch him in the face if she wanted to. She might not want to, but she might. You never know.
You never know.
You never know where she's going to land on that. But he would get punched in the face a lot, is what I'm saying.
Understood.
Anyway. Let's talk about Sebastian's questioning beliefs. Because he can't get the Desire Demon's voice out of his head.
Yeah, he keeps thinking about how even though, like, Hawk tries to console him by saying, look, that's what Desire Demons do. And he's like, yeah, but there was truth to what she said. It wasn't completely, like, they prey on true feelings. And, like, he is ashamed of how he felt and this ambition and this wanting more and not having.
Yeah. And honestly, I think recognizing that makes him more emotionally stable and more able to rule this kingdom.
Yes.
Because he knows. Like, he knows himself. And I think that's a really important step for him.
Yes, I agree.
And I said it before, I think his feelings are totally valid. Like, you were never given a choice, and it is completely natural to have these desires. You never acted on them. You never thought ill of your family. You never, like, wanted anyone to be dead. And now you're given this opportunity, and you feel guilty about it because of the way that it came about. And I think because you feel these things, that makes you more emotionally mature and more emotionally responsible. And you're going to take care of your people because you know what was lost in order to put you here.
Right.
So I am in favor of Sebastian returning to Starkhaven to take the throne. That's
Same. No, me too. Well, for one, my opinion about the Chantry is constantly, what has the Chantry done for me lately? Which is a big old nothing. But also, I think that he cares about the Chantry and the Maker, but it's clear he cares about his family quite a lot too, and so I want to push him towards that.
Yeah. Do you have any other comments, thoughts, questions, existential crisis?
I don't think so. I think right now Sebastian still seems like a character that is interestingly complicated and is not just at this point he reminds me of Liliana from the first game, right? Like,
yeah, I can see that.
Both rogues, first of all, but a religious character who their relationship to the Maker defines their direction, but doesn't blind them to what's going on around them.
Yeah.
That could change as we play through the game. Again, I don't remember this character as well. Again, I've played through the first game multiple times, the third game multiple times, the second game I've only played through once, even though it's my favorite. And so everything is a little murkier. But if his kind of temperament remains this way, similar to Liliana, where he is someone who's devout but also recognizes friendships and the importance of the world around him, he is a character I could like. In this moment, I don't dislike him. My dislike for the character is broadly based on my vague memory and our conversations.
Yeah, he does get a little pushy, in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll see. I mean, also it's funny, as I get older, I have patience for certain kinds of conversations that I might not as I was younger, but also the opposite is true, that as I get older, I also have less fucks to give, so some things bother me more, so we'll see. But in this moment, at least, he seems reasonable and someone that I do want to support because he does seem to truly care about his kingdom first and foremost.
All right, so that was that. That was Repentance. Fan mail?
Yes. Would you kindly read this one as I read the
Yes, because it made me really emotional. Okay, so this is from Callie, our fave. Was going to be light on thoughts this time, then listened to the episode and the word count doubled. Clear sign it was a good one. Nicely done and thank you for your efforts. Black powder courtesy. Arishok's motive for giving us this info could have simply been to prevent tensions from rising. To me, he seems to not intrinsically care about Kirkwallers or what they think of Qunari being there, but he's not stupid. While the Vishath do not physically appeal to me, I can kind of understand. Dragon-like horns are an upgrade. To be fair, pretty sure most draconic features would be. I am aware many of the spells and other combat abilities in this game would, in a contemporary Earth context, qualify as war crimes. But this gas feels to me like another level of disgusting, multiple layers of awful. Loved your discussion of the unnamed elf woman who stole the gas. You had at the ready words I had not yet been able to find for my complicated feelings for her. For such a minor character, her tragic story is impressively deep and nuanced. Not sure whether I consider her brief appearance an underutilization, but will not soon forget it. Comforting to know that humans also cannot accurately determine when flirting is happening. Also, I love that the way you phrase that implies that you are not human.
Yeah, which, legit.
Callie, is there something you need to tell us? Thanks for that. Still planning to gain unfair advantage by telling people I am Arrow Ace early has only not worked once. Appreciate both of you for reminding us that sometimes small things are all we can do, and it is enough. Hearing that helped me. Easy to feel useless from an ocean away. For that matter, thanks for making this podcast. Small thing, but it helps. Listening and chatting here with fellow listeners. Surprising nobody, my nostalgic self-care games are Mass Effect, especially 3. In fact, ME3 is one of the stories that made me understand the importance of self-care, and its numerous case studies on how people persist through despair always comforts me. Further rambling removed for brevity.
Thank you, as always, Callie. I'm constantly in awe of the folks who take this podcast to heart and enjoy it. Anything I work on, to be honest, not just this podcast. So I'm glad it helps. We're happy to have you as a listener. We will read your fan mail until the end of time.
If you keep writing it, we'll keep reading it.
Basically, yes. We have literally made that commitment to the show. So, unless someone submits hate mail, which you wouldn't, but if others do, we ignore that shit.
Unless it's funny.
Unless it's funny and we can take them apart on the show, which they won't listen to anymore anyway, which we've done before.
I'll do it for the bit.
Yeah. But thank you as always for writing in. We're glad you enjoy the show. We enjoy doing it. So basically, we like doing it for the audience, but frankly, and Frankie and I have talked about this, the minute this isn't fun anymore, we're not going to do it because we do it because it's fun.
Yeah, we do it because we have a lot of feelings.
That's true. We have to put them somewhere.
Exactly. All my boxes of feelings are full.
It's true.
You just shove them right down into a chest and they fill up so fast.
Yeah, it's true.
Fandom corner?
Yes, let's.
Okay. I will kick it off with Mythwrecked. This is a fairly new game. Unlike Matt, I'm very bad at telling you names of developers and things like that. I don't know. I found it on Game Pass. It was Greek mythology themed. I love that shit, so I was in. It is about a young woman who is backpacking through Greece. She's taking a break. She's actually just finished doing a PhD, which I didn't realize until halfway through the game, and I was like, oh, interesting. Extremely interesting. And she is traveling through Greece. She's going on a day trip to an island. She is the only person on this boat. And suddenly a storm kicks in and she washes up on shore of a mysterious island inhabited by people who all have amnesia. They have no idea who they are, what they are, how long they've been there, anything like that. And as she starts to get to know them, she realizes that they are the gods of the Greek pantheon. There's 9 technically, but they count them as 8. They count Zeus and Hera as one, which Hera would take extreme offense. But it's a fairly sanitized version of Greek mythology, which I don't hate. It's very child friendly, I would say. I think that this would be a nice game for young people who are just getting into Greek mythology and also just getting into video games. It's very cozy. There's no battle. There's hardly any puzzles, really. You're just running around the island collecting things and having conversations with these gods and helping them to remember. And you're also reassuring them that, they went through a traumatic event and that trauma does not make them a bad person. So it was very nice. It was a very nice game, let me say. I had one complaint. It was at the very, very end. There's a section where you have to run all the way around the island, and it kind of took what was supposed to be very tense and drew it out too much. So like the tension was just too much because you have to stop at each individual person and talk to them in order to progress the game further. I wish that they had like condensed that a little bit. And it was just a really pleasant experience. It was very short. I think it was like 7 hours. I'm not sure. I really liked it. And also Athena was a blue-haired, non-binary person with glasses and piercings.
Like they're coming for you.
Yeah, I felt very called out. I will send you the meme that I made based on this.
Okay.
But yeah, Athena was non-binary. It was also very queer-friendly, too. The only character design that I did not like was Hermes.
Okay.
I was like, what did you do to my little twink man? Hermes does not look like this. Hermes is a twink. But I really enjoyed it, and I highly recommend it, especially if you like Percy Jackson, if you liked Phoenix Rising, if you enjoy any like take on Greek mythology. Highly recommend Mythract, available on Game Pass and Steam and Switch, I think.
It's on PlayStation 5, Switch, Xbox, and PC. It is by Polygon Treehouse and published by Whitethorn Games.
Matt coming in clutch with actual information about video games.
I mean, you know, it's kind of my thing.
I'm just here for the vibes.
I know. I had heard about this. Jeff and I have a pretty great relationship with Whitethorn Games. Shout out to Lisa, their community manager and PR person.
Tell Lisa that I really liked it.
I will. So this was on my radar. I never got around to playing it just because there's too many games, but it did look interesting, and so I'm glad to hear that you really enjoyed it. It sounds like it's kind of in the visual novel puzzle game kind of.
Yeah, I'd make it more of a visual novel. It was very enjoyable. The music was really nice. It was very soothing. There was an element of building up your like home camp, so to speak. So like there was a cozy aspect of that as well. It was just nice. I liked it. It made me happy.
I mean, in these days, that's very important. So I get it. Though I am also bringing a video game this time. I do promise that I experience other things besides video games, but that's what I'm bringing. But that's what I'm bringing this week. And the game I'm bringing is South of Midnight. South of Midnight was a game that I've been following since its announcement. It's by Compulsion Games. It's by Compulsion Games. It's published by Xbox Game Studios. Compulsion Games, the last game they did was We Happy Few, which I hadn't played, but was kind of like a BioShock-like kind of first-person game, which now I want to go back and play because I enjoyed this so much. But South of Midnight is basically a Southern Gothic kind of fable. You play as the main character, Hazel, right before a flood strikes. She lives with her mom and has lost her dad. We don't know the complete details yet, but while Hazel's checking on the neighbors, a big wave of the flood comes and takes her house away. And another important thing that's mentioned very early on is Hazel is a track star, which is how they kind of explain away the platforming, even though it's a fanciful story, which I thought was fun. And so you spend the beginning part of this game chasing down the house, trying to catch up, as the game teaches you the basic mechanics, but unfortunately you can't keep up with it. And this game is basically you on the search for your mom, who you had just had a huge fight with, and now she was swept away. And Hazel slowly begins to find out that she's actually a weaver, which is a group of people who can see the magical strands in the air and weave together the tapestry of life, basically writing the darkness in the world. And it's basically an action platformer. Think Psychonauts, think like not so much a collectathon like a Mario game, but still like platforming, running, jumping, climbing, the Uncharted games. But the action of the game is more action combat oriented. Think, any kind of general action game. You know, you have attacks, you have combos, you fight in cordoned off arenas. You're not like fighting in the world. And it's probably the most beautiful sounding and looking game I've ever experienced. Has some of the best voice acting and writing I've experienced. It's the front runner for my game of the year this year. All of the animations are based on claymation. The intro to the game is made in claymation, and then the rest of the game mimics claymation. All of the character movements are like, if you remember how the characters moved in Enter the Spider-Verse, that kind of half frame kind of style that they use to give it a kind of artistic stutter. That's how the characters talk and move in this game, which looks gorgeous. The music is anywhere between Southern gospel, kind of pop, R&B, blues, murder ballad, some New Orleans jazz. It's kind of all of the best genres to come out of the South. This has a very strong identity of the South and people of color from the South, which was really excellent. If you want to read a great review, Kate Sanchez, a former guest of this podcast, did a great write-up on But Why Though, which made me more excited about the game, even though I was already initially interested in it. I finished it and really loved it. I don't really want to spoil the story, but the twists and the turns that the story takes, I think, are incredibly well done. It does something that I like in games where the final chapter of the game is not like there's no combat. It's just narrative. And I like when a game wraps up that way. It was really well done. The cast is incredible. The design is incredible. It's probably one of the best video games I've ever played. And it has flaws. The combat is okay at best. I ended up really getting into it by the end of the game once I had more abilities and understood how it worked and stopped locking on enemies. Most games you want to lock on or like target an enemy because it's easier, but you have to have your head on a swivel. I think it makes it easier to do the combat. I'd say the worst thing about the game were the boss fights. They were mostly the pits. I
kind of like the boss fights.
I think that there were good ideas. The platforming incorporated into them, but I felt boss battles like with Two-Toed Tom, which is a giant alligator that you fight, just felt it just didn't feel good.
Two-Toed Tom was frustrating. I will give you that.
Yeah, but the later stuff.
The tutorial kept saying you should do this to avoid this hit, and I would keep doing that, and I would still get hit. I'd be like, "You're wrong. You're incorrect."
But even the fight with the Rougarou was really tough.
I breezed through the Rougarou. Didn't get hit once.
I think the problem with this game,
I got an achievement for that.
It doesn't train the combat well, and so you have to kind of figure it out on your own. I think the platforming is great though. The whole Benji level is incredible. I like that some of the ends to some of the character arcs. Some of the character arcs, like in a lot of video games, a story arc will end with a boss fight, right? It's just a natural progression. This game doesn't do that. I'd say every other story arc had a boss fight, and the others had just platforming segments that were important to the narrative, that you explore something or find something. And I liked that. I like that this game mixed that up. So anyway, if you're looking for a really fun adventure game with one of the best storytelling and soundtracks in gaming, I think full stop, I would highly recommend South of Midnight. It is only on PC and Game Pass right now, but Compulsion Games' previous title that I mentioned, We Happy Few, is multi-platform. So I think this might be one of those limited time exclusives that then will be elsewhere. I know the Indiana Jones game that was exclusive to Xbox last year is coming to PlayStation this month as of when we're recording. So I think this is a timed exclusive as well, but I'm not sure. But if you have PC or Game Pass or Xbox, I can't recommend it enough. It's the front runner for my favorite experience this year, flaws and all, because folks know narrative tends to take the lead for me, even if mechanics don't hold up. And so I was just completely blown away by this game. This was a game that I was excited for, but I didn't expect it to kind of be as incredible as it was. I had high hopes for it, but because their previous title had gotten such mediocre reviews, I was like, oh, I don't know. But it didn't disappoint. So if you have the access to play it, I can't recommend it enough.
Can I tell you, the universe basically said to me hey, do you want to enter your Southern Gothic phase? Because I saw the trailer for Sinners and the trailer for this game, at the same time.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, okay, I'll do that. I also love this game. I second your recommendation wholeheartedly. I loved every second of it. Hazel is such a wonderful character. She is a fully rounded person. She has complex feelings. She is not always right, and that is okay. She learns from her mistakes. She learns to process her feelings. She is so empathetic and kind. She wants to see the best in people, but she is also capable of losing sight of that, any normal person. And I just think that the way she was written was so wonderful. And I think that this entire game was such a love letter to the South and to the pain that has come from the awful things that America has done to the people it has brought to its country.
Yes, correct.
And I think that the idea of repairing trauma is so close to my heart because trauma, cultural trauma, generational trauma, a lot of these things come because of capitalism, because of colonialism, because of imperialism. There are things that are done to us by a greater power that we cannot individually fight.
Yeah, it's really a well-told story, and I think that, and a kind of story we don't see as often as we probably should too. Also, croutons should be protected at all costs.
I love crouton. I'm over here thinking about, like, what if I made myself a little crouton?
I mean, if you make yourself a little crouton, you have to also then make and ship me a little crouton. I will pay for it.
I'll let you know if I find a good pattern for it.
Okay.
Also, one other thing that I really love, without giving away a spoiler, I think that they did a really great job of avoiding stereotypes and tropes that are very common with stories about the South.
Yes.
And about Southern Gothic. Like, there was a character that could have easily have gone very tropey, and they didn't do that with him.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very impressed. Like, he was also a well-rounded character. Like, it wasn't just like, I'm the evil man with a twisty mustache and a weird eye.
Yeah.
Like, he was fully well-rounded. He had varied motivations. Like, he wasn't even a villain. He wasn't even a foil.
Well, and what I like about this game also is that the villains in this game none of the villains were just mustache twirling villains. They all had reasons for what they did, good, bad, or indifferent. Like, they were complicated characters, right? Yeah. And I like when my villains or my characters generally are complicated and are not just clearly good or bad. Right. They all have aspects to them that we don't always know or understand and get to explore. Also, I want to shout out the voice performance besides Hazel of the catfish as well.
Yes!
I don't remember the actor who played him, but he was phenomenal.
Deep love for the catfish.
Yeah, one of, like, his design was incredible. The whole voice cast is incredible, and all of the characters, like you said, are well-rounded. It's very easy for these characters to have become stereotypes. Like, even Hazel's neighbors that you encounter in the beginning could be considered stereotypes. Miss Pearl. And what was the name of the guy with all the dogs? Bo. Like, both characters could have easily been Southern stereotypes and weren't. They were delightful. I like that when you find Bo later in the game, he's passed down on a bench and all his dogs are in a boat just barking.
I love it. Bo is such a himbo.
Yeah, it's very good. But
it was so good.
It's just such a great cast, and I think if you're looking for some excellent storytelling, I cannot recommend this enough.
I wanted to look at the voice cast because every time I heard a voice, I was like, do I know this voice? Because it was so strong, it was so powerful, and like it was just so excellent. So basically, in short, Matt and I both co-sign South of Midnight, and you should go play it.
Yes, absolutely. Please go do that.
Also, if you engage with any of our Fandom Corner recommendations, we would love to hear your thoughts.
Yes, please. I think this is Frankie and our way of turning this podcast into something beyond just a replay pod. As much as we love doing that, we've been bursting with things we've loved that we don't really share elsewhere.
Yeah,
and
that's also why I wanted Fandom Corner to develop into, like, let's share a thing that we love.
Right. And like that said, it doesn't mean that if we encounter stuff about Dragon Age or Mass Effect in the fandom that we want to share, that we won't talk about it here. This is just an alternative version for when we don't have that stuff to talk about.
Yeah. Okay. Next episode.
Yes, we will be taking on the mission Descent, which is Anders focused. We are basically going to do a run of companion quests leading up into then the bulk of Act 2. And so this one is focused on Anders. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of goo eyes from Frankie the whole episode, but, we'll deal. Look, you're nothing if not predictable.
Look, leave me and my man alone. I am a scorched earth kind of person. All right.
We know. We know.
If anything bad were to happen to my spouse, I would burn down all of Ohio. Because let's be real, if something bad were to happen to John, it would most likely happen in Ohio.
So you've said.
Yes. And I will repeat this. So Anders is perfect for me because Anders is also a scorched earth person.
Yes.
Literally.
Literally.
Anyway. If you enjoy what you heard here, you can follow us on social media. The podcast is at Reignite Pod on Blue Sky, YouTube, and Instagram, or you can send us an email at reignitepod@gmail.com. You can also find Matt and I on Blue Sky as Frankie B. Writes and DJ Stormageddon.
Yep. You can also submit your thoughts, wants, and desires via the Discord, as Callie does. So feel free to do that as well. Please rate and review this podcast on your platform of choice. A subscribe also goes a long way if you enjoyed this episode and it's your first episode. Why? But also thanks for being here. Maybe subscribe to the show. But if you've been a long-time listener and you've yet to write a review on Apple Podcasts or Good Pods or Pocket Casts or Spotify, literally anywhere you can rate and or review, please do that. It really does help more folks to find this podcast. And literally, if everyone who listens to this show each wrote a review, it would boost us significantly. So we really would appreciate that.
I would prefer it if you didn't post your desires so that you do not entice any desire demons into the Discord. Thank you.
I mean that's true. Yeah. We could also attract a Lucifer or two though. That might not be so bad.
There's only one Lucifer, first of all.
That's true.
Anyway, we're members of the Certain Point of View Network. You can visit certainpov.com to find more nerdy podcasts, each with a unique point of view. You can also find a permanent invite link to our Discord server on the website. Join the conversation and tell us what you're thinking.
Yes, but it doesn't have to be your deepest and darkest desires. It can just be your thoughts.
Yes, your surface thoughts, your detect thoughts.
Yeah, exactly.
We won't dive deeper.
Magic. Exactly. We'll keep it completely surface level. We never get really deep in the Discord ever. That never happens.
No.
As for personal plugs, all of mine are, of course, still the same. You can go to djstormageddon.com to see all of my links to my other podcasts, Fun and Games, this show, my merch store, all sorts of stuff. Also, Fun and Games now has an official URL. We are funandgamespod.com. If you want to go directly to our homepage, you can find us that way. We are in the process of adding some stuff to the show to give us more access within media to, review more stuff, all of that fun stuff. Jeff and I, of course, also will be at PAX East this year. It's in May, the second weekend of May. We'll be covering the event for the podcast. No panels as of now that we'll be on, but we'll be walking around the show floor, chatting with devs. So if you see us, please say hi.
I want to be where the gamers are. I wanna see new demos, walking around, I can't remember the rest of the words.
Okay.
I was really into it, though.
Okay.
I miss going to cons.
I know. Someday.
I was gonna say, I'll be back. No.
I mean, I wouldn't come back right now.
No. I have to come back in July for my brother's wedding. Anyway, I'm presenting at GIFCON again this year. GIFCON, if you don't remember, is the Glasgow Institute of Fantasy. So if you like fantasy, if you like queer fantasy, if you like monsters, if you think monster romance is gay, then check out the virtual conference based out of the University of Glasgow's Center for Fantasy and the Fantastic. It is an all virtual, all free conference. So if you're a big academic nerd, then you should check it out. Just keep in mind there is a 5-hour time difference.
I will point out, though, that whether you think monster loving is gay or not, it doesn't matter. It is. I just want to clarify that in case anyone was wondering.
Shrek is a monster romance, and Shrek is an allegory for queer romance.
Yes, absolutely is. We'd also, of course, like to thank the one and only Case Aiken for developing some really cool shirt designs that you can find at certainpov.com or on the Teespring for Certain POV. And, of course, as always, we want to thank Case for his incredible episode art design work that he does for each individual episode of the show.
We'd like to thank Miracle Sound for our theme music, which we love.
And of course, we want to thank the one and only Red Spinks for our Dragon Age inspired logo. To see more of his work, you can go to Chaos Does Art on Instagram.
And lastly, thank you for listening. I'm Frankie.
And I'm at AK Stormageddon.
Remember, all Templars are bastards.
Fight for your values and fight for your friends. Fight through this blight, find the light at the end. Through the age of the dragon, the people will talk of the day they were saved by a hero named Hawk. Hawk, 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 Hawk.
Have you ever been reading through a stack of comics and thought, maybe I should see what that Arkham Asylum game is all about? Or been playing Marvel vs. Capcom and felt like you were at a real disadvantage since you didn't know who half the characters were? Well, Play Comics is the show for you. I'm Chris, and each episode we take a look at video games based on comic properties and how well they stick to that source material. So whether you know the comics and want to know how all those games work, or you know the games and want to find out where all this craziness came from, go check out Play Comics at playcomics.com or wherever you find your favorite podcasts.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.